Hey, what's up? This is TJ. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to be looking at what I think is the ultimate sleeper monophonic synthesizer, that being the Studio Electronics SE-3X. It's the ultimate sleeper because, well, it doesn't seem like a lot of people really know about it, and those that do know about it know how awesome it is, particularly this synthesizer and its predecessor, that being the SE-1X and or the SE-1, which has been used in a lot of very popular recordings, particularly in the vein of, hip hop, R&B, rap, urban styles. Very, very popular synthesizer that's been used for years, and this synthesizer is the latest generation of that. So I want to be able to show it to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the entire synth, show you, its features, its benefits, its sound. I'll do a complete sound run through, give you lots of examples, and when that's done, we'll go through the pros and cons of the synth, as well as do a comparison against some of its competition. If you like the videos that I'm doing here, you've got to subscribe. Hit that bell up there. Hit the subscribe down here. And, check out tjontheroad.com. Thanks so much. Let's get this done. So what is the SE-3X? Obviously, it is a rack mount synth. It is a fully analog mono synth. There is no chips in here or anything like that. It's discrete circuitry. The only digital components are obviously the memory that comes with it and the digital control over the components, but the oscillators, the filters, the envelopes, the LFOs, they are all pure 100% analog circuitry. So if you're looking for that, classic analog sound, this is what you want. It is based obviously on the 3 oscillator setup that you might see, say, for example, in a MIDI mode, the classic type of setup. And generally speaking, the original thought behind this was to be a replacement for the MIDI mode, but it has a lot of extra features here. So we're going to run through the different sets of modules that we have here, and just to give you an idea what's going on. Let's start with the oscillators, right? You've got 3 oscillators, as I had said. They are all almost exactly the same, all right, in that you have 3 different waveforms. You can do these waveforms individually, or you can actually do them in combination. Any kind of combination that you want, say, for example. All right, you've got a triangle. All right, you got a sawtooth. And you got a square wave, and obviously the pulse width. Whoops, that's the square wave. And the pulse width. Okay, again, you can combine those. That's what I had done before by mistake. Anytime you have the square wave, you can add pulse width modulation. Okay, it only does affect the square wave though. So you can't do the pulse width with the sawtooth. Okay, in order to set the volumes, right, you have to hit the shift button, and you'll see the volume knobs here. It comes there, the screen comes up. All right, let's turn them all up. Alright, but they won't all come on unless they are selected. So even though they're all up in terms of volume here, the only one you're going to hear is oscillator 1 because that's the one that's lit up. If I were to hit oscillator 2, you'll hear 2 sawtooths. Okay, let's go to oscillator 2. As I said, oscillator 2 is a little bit different than oscillator number 1 and oscillator 3 because you do also get a sine wave here instead of the triangle. So that is a little bit different. You can sync oscillator 2 to oscillator 1 and oscillator 3 to oscillator 2 for your classic sync sounds. Alright. So you can sync them, and you can also again do that from oscillator 3 to oscillator number 2. One also little quirk here, Oscillator 2 and 3, you can fine tune them. Okay, you would do that again by hitting the shift button. Okay, and you'll notice that it jumps rather than catches, but that's your only option here. All right, so let's just say, for example, I'll give that a little bit of fine tuning, say up to 8, and then number 3, I'll go down the same amount. Okay, turn all 3 of them on, and you'll get that super saw sound. Big sound, right? You cannot do the fine tuning on Oscillator 1, however. I'm going to leave that sound on. Let's go into the filter section here. All right, you get 6 different types of filters when this light is off. It is the SEM filter. Turning it on will bring up the filter page. All right, and when you turn it on, you also get the selection of these 5 other types. We're going to turn it off to leave it on the SEM filter so you can hear that. All right, all the filter types are low pass filters with the exception of the SEM that also does have a band pass. All right, let's hear that. There is no high pass filter. All the filters with, again, the exception of the SEM, can self-resonate. We'll look at that in a moment. The SEM cannot self-resonate, however, so we're going to turn this back to the low pass filter. Again, that's the SEM. Let's turn it on, and now we have it pointing towards M here. That is the Moog ladder style filter. All right, next you have the ARP filter. 2600 style filter. Then you have 3 different Roland style filters. That's the first one. Okay, the first 2 are just different slopes. 6 dB and 24 dB. The last one is a combination of the Juno and Jupiter style filters. All right, let's turn it back to the Moog filter here. All right, and we can listen to the resonance. So I'm going to put this right back towards the middle. Resonance here. Watch your ears, this gets real peaky. Okay, that resonance really shines through nicely. Again, it will self-oscillate on any of the filters where the light's showing up. When the light is off, again, it is the SEM filter. It does not self-resonate there. Okay, I'll save your ears by not going through all the different filter types with the resonance. But let's go into the envelope generators just real quick. Before I do that, the tracking is set here. I have that set at 100%. Okay. And for the self-resonance, that's where you want to have it at 100% or 10, as it indicates here on the display. The panel, I should say. Okay, let's listen to the envelopes. The first envelope, okay, is for the filter. The second envelope is for the attack. You push this button here, okay, and it gives you a selection over here of all the destinations of the envelopes, and it gives you the option of using the top one and the bottom one for envelopes 3 and 4, whatever you have it select for in the destination. We'll come back to that. I'm going to turn that off, so the top one is now the filter envelope. Okay, we set the amount down here. Turn that all the way down. Okay, hit this again, so I want to bring up the menu over here as you see that. Now there's another menu which will allow you to set the slope of the filter. We're going to hit the shift and we come to here and we find that. Okay, there it is. All right, That again is the filter menu. Okay, so if we come over here, we can invert the filters. All right, we can select which one we want to invert. Just filter number 1, excuse me, envelope number 1, envelope number 3, or envelope 1 and 3. Okay, so if we do it with number 1, turn that up. So now we can invert that if we want to do that. All right, turn that off. And then it has different curves. Okay, this is a what you've been hearing is an exponential curve. It's the second option. The first option of exponential curve is right here. Wait. Oh, there it is. And then there's a linear curve. Linear, exponential, and the second exponential curve. I kind of like the second one. That's a little bit more bouncy. Speaking of bounce, it does have this parameter oscillator bounce. What this actually replicates a quirk that used to be in the older SE-1 and SE-1X, where there would be a little bit of a delay before it went into the envelope generators, a delay in the trigger. So if I have this off, you don't hear it, but if I turn it on, you'll hear a slight delay before it goes in there. And it might be easier to hear. Let me see here. If I put this on linear, there we go. All right, so here is with it off. With it on, you can hear a slight delay. And the second one is more exaggerated. So it is a slightly interesting quirk. And then there's a third one. Off. On 1. On 2. On 3. Slight difference when you get it all set up in terms of different sounds and the filters. You might hear it a little bit more than what I'm demonstrating now, but you get the idea. All right, again you have envelope generators 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can set the destinations for those here. Okay, let's see, let's go down here, come over here. You can set it for the ring mod, okay, noise, pulse width of 1, pulse width of 2, oscillator 2 that is, oscillator 3 for pulse width. The mix was called the SWP, which is basically a frequency sweep, okay. The mix of number 3, a frequency sweep for oscillator number 3. And again, the ring mod. Okay, if we come down here, let's go to number 4, the envelope number 4. I'm going to set this for noise, just to demonstrate that. Okay, this over here is the dynamics in terms of how much it adjusts for dynamics in terms of velocity. Okay, in order for you to really get an idea for this though, I'm going to turn down all of the oscillators. Alright, so you can hear it really good. Come up to the noise. The noise has to be more than 0, so even just 1. Right, in order for you to hear it, I'm going to turn the envelope amount all the way up for number 4. And hopefully we get something there. There we go. So you see here we set the envelope amount all the way up. We have it set for noise, okay, here on this screen over here. And I have at least a minimum amount of noise of 1 set in the amount of the mixer. Okay, this additional parameter allows you to set the noise past the envelopes, past the filters, and just directly to the output. So that's really also cool. All right, I'm going to start back from scratch. So here you can go back to the beginning of the page, right? And I'm going to take this out here. And now I have back my personally created initialized patch. Okay, let's look at the LFOs here. You have 3 LFOs, so that's really great. LFO 1 is when the lights are off, and then you select LFO 2 or LFO 3. Okay, some little quirks here, right, with the destinations of LFO 1 here, all right, they are different than the destinations of the 2 other LFOs. The one big difference is that, as I turn this, you'll see here, it's oscillator 3, 2, 1, all right, and here you can do modulation of all oscillators all at once. So if you want to do a vibrato or some type of frequency modulation, oscillation of all 3 at once, you can only use LFO 1 because LFO 2 and LFO 3 do not have that. All right, so in order for you to set that up, you've got this here. I've got it set for a triangle wave, right? Okay, now I can come over here to the dials. I can set the rate and the depth. Okay, I can do that right here. All right, in order for me to select the other ones, you would just hit that, and then all of a sudden these dials become for LFO 2 and LFO 3. Okay, LFO 3 does have a really cool function in that it has an LFO gate. What that means, it will gate the envelope generators, right, with LFO 3. So let's try that. In order to best do that, to demonstrate that, okay, I'm going to turn this to no assign. All right, I'm going to turn LFO 3 to no assign. Okay. And let's say here, I'm going to turn it to a square wave. Okay, now it should trigger the envelopes here. All right, if I increase the depth and the speed, come on, once I hit the gate here. All right, turn that off. Okay, so you hear what it's doing. It's now the square wave of LFO number 3 is gating, it's actually triggering the envelopes. Again, let's try that here. All right, so that's a lot of fun, and it's really, really cool to create, rhythmic type of patterns with that. You can clock sync the envelopes with external gear, so that's also really, really cool. I have that parameter over here. You can clock sync it to a whole note and then the different subdivisions. All right, you can do that individually with each envelope, so that's really cool. And then you have the key triggering options as to whether or not it's just self-running and or it triggers onto the keys. So you've got here, we looked at the oscillators, we looked at the filters, we looked at the envelopes. One other really cool thing here is over here. This is a fuzz circuit. There are 2 fuzz circuits. We've had them out so far. Let me put on the sawtooth there, and you can hear the fuzz circuit. Alright, let's turn that so you can hear it a little better. So here with it out, let's give it a couple of oscillators going so you can hear it really good. Alright, let's get the filter working here. Here's with the first one. So when you really drive the circuits, let's try it with the Moog filter here. That's with number 2 on. The second fuzz. The middle section is off. First one. They call this a vintage, and then there's off, and then there is a 90s fuzz. Okay, let's turn that back off again to show you that that is there. What else are we going to look at? Obviously, we have glide. All right, when you turn that on, it gives you a number of different options: exponential, off, linear. Okay, you can do this cool auto glide function. Okay, where you can actually set the glide to where it's going to be from a certain semitone. All right, say I want it to start as a semitone at 5 semitones down. That means it'll always start at 5 semitones down. Let's see a little bit more. Set that to whatever that you want. Let's take it even down further. How far does it go? How far does it go? Way down. Oh my God. All right. Okay, so it loops that at 48. All right. So what's really cool about that is you can set that to be always going into one direction rather than 2 directions based on where you're playing. Let's say down from 12. That's a really cool function. Turn that up here to here. And then this is the note trigger for the envelopes. You can either have it on so it re-triggers each time, or you can do it on a legato type mode. And then you have your note priority. All right, let's take a quick look through the menu system. You'll notice that this shift button is very, very important to the SE-3X. All right, all the different functions work greatly on the shift, and you can dial through them, all the different types, just by holding the shift down. One thing I do wish is that the shift had a latch function, but it does not. You can just dial through those any way that you want. All right, so we've seen this, the mixer, we've seen the envelope page, we've seen the envelope LFO pages. All right, filter page, okay. This is for the modulation, and for the aftertouch, it does respond to channel aftertouch. You can set the destinations here, and the amounts, it sets also to a controller number, external controller number. This box will send MIDI control messages with each dial, and it also receives them. Really, really cool. So you can actually automate it in your DAW. Okay, you can set the pitch bend range. You can also set that the cutoff is affected by the pitch bend here. This is where your octave switch is. I've had it in the middle. You can set it to low, high, or mid. Okay, this you set your MIDI channel, your memory protect, and if you want to do a dump of the data. One of the great things also about the SE-3X is that there is an available software editor. It is standalone only. It's not a a plugin type editor for your DAW, but there is a software editor and a librarian available from Studio Electronics. If I remember correctly, it's pretty inexpensive. I think it's about $29 or $30. So also very, very cool. If you're like me, I often like to sit at my desk and operate things. And then so I don't always have to go this to a rack or something like this where it's sitting. So that's very, very handy. All right, this is where you can name it, and that's where the preset is. Okay, regarding the presets, you'll see there's 8 banks. Each bank has 99 slots in it. Banks 1 through 4 are an awesome set of pre-programmed ROM banks. All right, oops, here we go. Oops, I'm still getting used to this. Bear with me here. Okay, here we go. There we go. These are the ROM banks, okay? There's 99 of those. Okay. All right. And there are, as you might expect, a ton of bass presets. Honestly, you probably never have to program your own bass presets on here because there are so many great ones already. All right, by some really awesome programmers. All right, so the first 4 banks are, oops, keeps pushing the wrong buttons. Here we go. There we go. The first 4 banks are the ROM, and then you get into the RAM banks. Now, RAM banks 4, 6, and 7 are already filled up with also presets. Okay, RAM 8 did have a few presets in there, but I overwrote them just for myself. So with the software editor, you can certainly download and or save, I should say, all of those extra RAM presets so you can keep them for your later and also do your own work. All right, so that's enough for going through the synth. Right now, I'm going to play through a bunch of those presets that I created and a couple of the ROM presets that are in here. Also, I'm going to add in some effects on some of those. The effects are coming from my Fractal FM9 effects processor. So if there's effects, you'll obviously hear them, but I'll indicate that also in the video. Wait till after all those sounds, and I will give you my pros and cons of the SE-3X. Let's do it.
let's talk about the pros and cons of the Studio Electronics SE-3X. First of all, the pros. Obviously, this thing has a massive, pure analog sound. It's the reason why you buy it in the first place. It rivals just about anything you've ever heard out there. The classic, analog synths. It can pull that off and pull it off with spades. It has great, core tone from the oscillators and from the filters. That's what really makes it special. It has an awesome filter selection. You get 6 different filter types. That's really, really great. Okay. You have oscillating resonance from 5 of the filters. That's also really, really awesome. Okay. The workflow is generally fast. There are a few caveats. I'll talk about that in a moment. But generally, it is a fast-moving synthesizer. You can work through it very, very quickly. It's not a very complex synthesizer. It shouldn't be, It's supposed to be a classic mono synth. But the workflow is still very, very fast. And it's still very, very friendly. So I really like that. You have 3 LFOs, which is great. Okay. They are syncable. Awesome with external gear. Okay, you have the LFO gate on LFO 3, so that's also a lot of fun. You got the 4 envelopes that are assignable. Really, really awesome. Okay, you got all those presets, the 4 banks of 99 presets. They sound great. I could take all day going through all those, but I won't bore you with all that. Trust me, they all sound really fun, and they are not just taking up space in there for sure. Let's see. You have also the user memory. Again, another 4 banks of 99 there. You can store a lot of stuff in here. Stuff that you want to offload. Again, there is a librarian, a standalone editor available. That's also great. The knobs send MIDI, so you can record the knobs, on your DAW, and it does receive MIDI, so you can automate this synth nearly every parameter that you can do that with. There is on the power up, it recalls the last patch that you used. That's really, really great. When you have all these presets and so forth, it really kind of sucks. A lot of synths do this. That always come up with the first one and you got to dial up to the one that you want. This doesn't do that. This works with the last one that you use. So that's really awesome. It does also have a paraphonic mode. I neglected to mention that before. Quickly, you hit the shift. Now it's in paraphonic mode. You'll hear that if I turn up all of the oscillators. Okay, you'll hear now that you can play more than one key at a time. If you turn them all on, of course. There we go. Play up to 3 notes at a time. That's not only great just for chords, though. It's also great for, having different envelopes running at different given times, so that you can have one envelope trailing another as you go. So that's really very much more of a powerful functionality. That's cool. It has the 2 fuzz modes. That's very awesome. All right. Now on to some of my cons. The UI is a little bit quirky. It depends a lot on this right here, this shift key. Okay. Not everything, but it does depend a lot on the shift key. And the shift key is a little bit small. It's not particularly in the most ergonomic location. Most times you have to hold it, okay, and dial through. There is no latch function. A lot of my other synthesizers have a latch function, say, for example, the Udio Super 6 or the GS Music E7. They have a latch function, so you don't have to hold it all the time. You just go that, hit it again, the latch is off, then you can do it. As it stands here, you pretty much can't hold this and try to dial this at the same time. That'd be kind of tough. You can, but it's a little tough, particularly if you're right-handed like me. There is no dedicated oscillator volume functions, again, without the latch, and without the shift, excuse me, so you got to use the shift in order to do that, or you have to scroll to the menu. What else in terms of cons? Now, there are a limited number of modulation destinations and modulation combos. That's not too surprising. It is meant to be a simple synth, right? So there is a limited amount that you can do. The only thing that I really found in that, if you remember, if you went to the oscillator destination for the LFOs. LFO 1 is the only one where you can actually do it all on 3 of the oscillators as destinations at once. All right, going back to here. Oscillators, there we are. It's right there. Okay, and that's also true, though, that you cannot select for the pulse width modulation. So if you want a pulse width modulation, all 3 of the oscillators, you've got to do it with 3 separate LFOs. There is no way to do that with just 1 parameter. So there's no combo destination for that. So not all sources are available for all destinations, and not all combos are available. A little bit quirky there, but it is workable. So it's not such a big deal, but that is something I will put on my con list. One other quirk with this is that you can sometimes get stuck notes if you try to change the preset when the envelopes are not fully through their cycle. They're not fully closed. I found you often get stuck notes with that. In reading up on that, I found that some other users also had that same issue. And it's not just an issue with the SE-3X. It was an issue with the prior generations of this synthesizer. So that doesn't sound like it's going to get fixed anytime soon. So it is what it is. You know, just remember, don't change the preset until you let the envelopes go all the way to their full cycle. There is no panic button as well to fix that. So that would be kind of cool if you could just hit shift to something else and it had a panic button, and then, you know, you could take care of that, wipe that out. There is no headphone jack, so you don't have any way to listen to it on its own. There's also no USB on the back. There is only a in, out, and through DIN MIDI input. There is a mono input that substitutes the noise if you want to put something into that, so run it through the filters and the envelopes. But there is no effects, obviously, also with this. And there is no USB input or out, which would be helpful in terms of being able to connect it to your computer. Some things I'm neutral about. As I said, there are no effects. Honestly, you know, I don't know if you really care so much about that. I mean, if you're going to buy this synthesizer, this is pretty much of a boutique type of synth. You're not probably going to expect to have effects with it. You're going to probably hook it up to something else. You know, anybody who wants to buy one of this usually has other gear to hook it up on. That's not such a big deal, I don't think. The wraparound encoders, you know, I kind of love them or hate them at times, okay? You know, like as I said before, let's say, for example, for here, like here, they go from 0 to the top there, right? But for the noise, they're either they're wrapping around all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom. So this is technically a pot, and this is an encoder sound, right? I would much like it, generally speaking, to have the option of being able to flick it and it goes to 0, right? But if you flick it, it goes down to past 0. So it's a little bit of an annoyance, something that you need to get used to. There's obviously like no effects, no sequencer or arpeggio. Again, that's probably something you're going to want to use eternally, not something that, you know, you would expect to have in all kinds of rack mount analog synthesizers. All right, next thing I want to talk about is the price of this. This thing runs about, I think, $2,200, you know, in the US. I got this for much less. This was a demo unit. Compared to its competition, well, you can say it's pricey. You could say that it is actually cheap. Compared to a Minimo, the latest Minimo is like $5,000. This thing is cheap compared to that. Okay. And that's what it mostly emulates, right? Compared to something that's more modern, say, for example, the Pro 3 that I have here, from Sequential or an Arturia Matrix Brute, you would consider it to be expensive, and it doesn't have all the features that those do have. But then again, that's not the reason why you buy this. You really buy this for its core tone, and it has that in spades.
Well, hey, that's it. The SE-3X from Studio Electronics, a monstrous sounding synth Great core sound, great filter selection, really has that classic, bass sound, those classic lead sounds. You can't go wrong with this type of thing, and it fits nicely into a rack, so that's really, really cool. I want to thank you so much for watching the video. If you've gotten this far, again, please do subscribe. Check out tjontheroad.com for lots more, and I will see you next time.